Hi Chocolate Muffins, and hello Seth if you're watching this. So I've been recently watching a bunch of Seth Hendrix videos on YouTube, his vlogs and his game videos and stuff like that. If you've never heard of him, he's this cool YouTuber who's been around pretty much since the beginning. I've met him in person a couple of times, and his videos are pretty funny, so you should watch them and check them out. Anyway, and I just watched his, well, the video is called Video Game High School Loot Crate, but his topic in that video is his top 5 games from when he was in high school. And I thought I'd be a copycat and do the same thing, except that I don't really remember what years I was in high school because my school life was kind of all over the place. I was homeschooled for part of it, and I went to a charter school for part of it, and it was just, you know, it was complicated. Not that I was like a delinquent or anything, just we moved a lot and blah blah blah. So I thought I would just go with the top 5 games from my childhood. These are pretty much the earliest games that I ever played, and I think I kind of did a similar video like a while ago, but whatever. Let's do it again. Redo. These are pretty much games from my childhood. These are from when I was 10 or younger, and I didn't even. The first game system I ever had was a Sega Genesis, and I had 6 games for that Sega Genesis, and I played those games to death. And then as the years went by, you know, well, there wasn't really anyone in my neighborhood to babysit, but I mowed a lot of lawns and I saved up so that I was able to get a Super Nintendo and a, you know, Game Boy Pocket and all this other stuff. But anyway, so not really in any particular order, but top 5 games from my childhood that made the biggest impression on me. Number 5, Columns. So people probably don't know that much about Columns. I didn't play Tetris at all until I was much older because I was a Sega girl. And instead of Tetris on Sega, we had this game called Columns, where it was always straight line, but the different little things were different. It's a little bit like Candy Crush, I guess, although I hate to say Candy Crush. No, it's more like a hybrid of Tetris and Candy Crush. Maybe. But anyway, one of the things about this game that I found completely entrancing was actually the music. So the graphics obviously were really simple because it was Sega Genesis, but there were 3 different music themes, and each level would have one of these music themes playing. And they were named after the 3 fates: Clotho, Lachesis, and Atro. I forgot her name. But anyway, the 3 fates from Greek myths, and each song is very, I feel, very iconic, especially Clotho, the main one. In fact, I'll link them in the description, and you should go listen to them because they are, I don't know, it's just one of those songs where I hear it and I'm just like, oh, I feel like I'm 5 years old again. It's not necessarily a good feeling, but not 5, like 8. Anyway, so Columns. Never had Tetris, but Columns is fun. I remember the music, and I remember being really bad at it, but playing it a lot anyway. And then number 4 is also a Genesis game. It is Ecco the Dolphin, Tides of Time, which is actually the I did bit my tongue. Is actually the sequel to the original Ecco the Dolphin game. And I played the sequel before I played the first one. And one of the things that's significant about that is that in the sequel, that sound that it makes when you die, that ah sound, apparently in the first one it makes that any time you got hurt. So having played the second game first, when I did eventually go back and play the original Echo, I was in a constant state of terror because every time I would get hurt, it'd go and it was just like ah. But yeah, Echo was a pretty interesting game. It was actually quite a complicated game. Instead of, you know, there are little passwords so you could go to another level, but I never wrote them down, so I usually played from the beginning the whole way. And you play the part of Ecco the Dolphin, which is really fun when you just get speed and you like just jump and do circles or whatever like that. But you can also, you have echolocation, which lets you see your area, and you have the charge attack, and then you can actually like power it up. You can get like a powered up echolocation to shoot stuff. There's also sections in the game where you transform into one of the other creatures, like you turn into a jellyfish or you turn into a shark or the hungry ones, as Ecco the Dolphin calls them. The music was also very iconic, and also the level design, because you start off on Earth, but then you get transported to various alien worlds, and actually there's even a boss fight where you're like attached to the giant boss and you have to like swim up her tubes. It's not as kinky as it sounds. It's actually really freaking hard. I remember that map because that map was worse than the Chocobo racing in Final Fantasy X. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it was a really fun game. It was a really, you know, complicated game. There were parts in it where I would actually have to pause it and go get my mom and ask my mom to come in and beat the enemies for me because I was terrified of the little alien squid, mostly because they kind of had a human face, and it was just like, human face plus animal freaks me out. Ecco the Dolphin, it's great, and it's on the Sega Classics thing on Steam because my friend bought it for me like a year ago and I haven't touched it since then. Sorry, friendo. Maybe I'll do a Let's Play of it soon. And then number 3 is Sonic 2, which is for the longest time, that was the only Sonic the Hedgehog game that I ever played. Again, it was just sort of arbitrary which games I ended up with when I was a kid. I didn't really have much choice. It was like whatever someone was selling and that at a garage sale, and it actually worked. And so Sonic 2 is the only Sonic that I played for a really long time. But it was probably one of the best Sonics. You know, it's still got the basics of Sonic, but Tails is in it, and Tails is super adorable. And, you know, it was one of those games that I played and I beat to death, and then later on when Sonic and Knuckles came out and you had the little cartridge and you could stick the cartridge onto the game, and then I'd go in there with Knuckles and I would just, like, soar through every level, and it was just like, what? I remember the biggest fear I had of Sonic 2, though, was being crushed by walls. That has always been, in video games, well, obviously in real life, although I've never been in a situation like that in real life, but in video games, whenever there's like a wall about to crush me, I can barely handle it. I mean, that's one of the reasons I've always had trouble getting into Tomb Raiders, because there's a lot of crushing walls in those games. And so in Sonic 2, that, and also, of course, everyone knows the terror that fills you when they play the "you're about to drown" suffocate sound. That was a terrible impersonation, but you know what I mean. I'll play the song. Yeah, that one. Terror every time. Set that as your wake-up tune to your alarm clock. You will be up in time for school, trust me. Number 2, this one's a little bit later, but Jet Force Gemini. So I ended up with this game, I don't even remember exactly how. I think somebody like left it at my house and then we weren't friends anymore, so I never gave it back. But Jet Force Gemini is kind of a weird game. It's for Nintendo 64 and it's like a space shooter, but it just, I don't know, it was kind of in this uncanny valley where it was, the movements were just beginning to approach somewhat lifelike movements, at least in my rose-tinted memory of this game. And it was fun, but at the same time it was very frustrating. There were these like swamp zombie alien things that terrified the crap out of me. And, you know, it's weird because I'm like, when I think back at Jet Force Gemini, I don't really have a clear memory of the game. I just have all these little pieces, and it's kind of like when you have a really intense nightmare / dream, and you can remember little pieces of it, and you know that the whole was kind of an incredible experience, but when you try to tell people about it, you're just like, there were zombies, and this other thing, and it was cool, and nah. Well, that's how I feel trying to talk about Jet Force Gemini, but basically just, it was a creepy game, but it was also, it was creepy without trying to be creepy, I think. Or at least without trying to be creepy like in the level of Silent Hill, which is another game from my youth, but I'm putting that teenage years, not necessarily kid years. And then the first, number 1, top 5, this is probably an obvious choice, but Link to the Past. Link to the Past was the first Zelda that I ever played. Yes, I have gone back and played all the Zeldas since then. That one, it was actually a friend's copy, and I pretty much went to their house like every day to play it. I mean, we would talk and we would hang out at the same time, but that was the main reason for me to go over there. And then years later, I found a gold copy of it for sale for like $50, which was still probably cheaper than it is today, and I was like, yeah! And I bought that crap, and it turned out that it didn't work. But it's okay, it's pretty, whatever. And that, you know, people are always being all hipstery about the Legend of Zelda games, and like, oh, the older it is, the better it is, nah, 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 nah. Well, I think that each Zelda game, pretty much every Zelda game, has something unique about it that makes it you know, the best in some category. But Link to the Past, I think, is probably the most well-rounded Zelda experience, because you've got the power-ups, you've got the music, you've got the story. Yes, there is a story in Legend of Zelda. You've got the Dark World. I was always kind of... Most of these games, actually, my strongest memories of them are of the music, which is funny because I don't really consider myself much of an audio person. I'm more of a visual person. But the Dark World theme that plays when you're the bunny. Only when you're in the bunny. Not when you actually go to the Dark World, but just when you're briefly in the bunny. You know that one? That song? That song. Anyway. I'm all over the place. When am I not? But yeah, Link to the Past, it's probably the most iconic Legend of Zelda game. Although, of all the series, I always say that Majora's Mask is my favorite because I like darker Zelda. And I'm really happy because they're finally making a sequel for it. It's actually going to be a sequel to Link to the Past. A Link Between Worlds, I think it's called. And it's going to be on Wii U, and I don't have a Wii U, so I'm going to have to save up and put myself out there to, not like that, maybe like that, to get a Wii U. But I'm really happy that they're finally coming up with a sequel to it. I just hope that my memories of Link to the Past aren't so rose-tinted that I'm automatically going to hate whatever the new game is. But I'm generally pretty fair, I feel like, to games. I don't automatically be like, oh my god, old is better. Anyway, so those are my top 5 games of my early childhood, I want to say. Although when I think early, I mean like, I think like 2 years old. It's like, no, I mean like below 10 years old. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'd really like to know what your guys' favorite childhood games are. I know a lot of you guys are younger than me. I mean, I'm almost 30, so obviously my childhood was before yours. But it's funny too, because I was reading Game Informer and somebody was like, thanks for featuring games on the DS. It's nice to see retro games get love. DS games. Retro. No. But anyway, so it makes me realize that, you know, people are getting older, me included, and my childhood is before the childhood of a lot of you guys. But still, I'd really like to know what your guys' childhood memories for. And actually, I have a prize this time. I totally forgot until just now. I accidentally ended up with an extra copy of this week's Humble Bundle, which is the one that includes Dead Space and Dead Space 3 and Mirror's Edge and all these other great games. So, as a reward for watching this entire video, leave a comment, like if you like, and subscribe and favorite. I hate asking that, but I kind of have to. And I will pick somebody from the comments to give the bundle to. Go ahead and, you don't have to tell me why you want the bundle, go ahead and tell me what your top 5 childhood games are, because that's the topic of this video. And yeah, I'll pick somebody, and if you don't want the bundle, tell me in the comments. Actually, tell me if you do and tell me if you don't, because I don't know how many people actually will watch the whole video and get to this part, so. Alright, that's about it. Thanks for watching. It's really friggin' hot today. I'm gonna go take this shirt off and walk around naked. No, not naked, because I have neighbors, but as naked as I can get without getting the cops called on me. And go sit in a bucket full of ice. I wish. I don't have any ice. Alright, thanks for watching. Like if you like, and leave a comment about your top 5 childhood games, and tell me if you want the Humble Bundle. That's it.